thinking about becoming a landlord, or maybe you're considering what it would be like to invest in your first real estate property, well, there are a couple things that you might want to consider before taking this exciting next step in your real estate investment strategy. My name is Kaycee Miller. I work for Rentec Direct property management software. I'm also a landlord, an investor, a real estate developer, and I've been writing in the industry for over a decade. Now, when it comes to buying your first rental property and taking that step to be a landlord, there's a couple things that you want to think about. It's not just collecting rent checks and watching that rental profit and income make your strategy grow for your investing. It involves some financial prowess, considering what your different options are, knowing what your legal strategy is going to be, and of course there's an emotional element, or really I should say an emotionless element, that you need to consider for owning and managing rental properties. So let's break it down a little bit. Now I have about 20 units in my real estate portfolio. We do use a property manager, but a lot of them were self-managed at first, and these are some lessons we've learned along the way. Now, when it comes to the financial side of it, it's more than just thinking about cash flow in terms of rental income and mortgage payments out. And even if you own your current home, there are different expenses that come with owning a rental property compared to a primary residence. With a rental property, sure, you have your mortgage and you have your property expenses, but maintenance expenses might be a little bit more than your traditional home because the wear and tear is a little bit higher with that rental property. We always say a good rule of thumb is to take about 10% of your rental income each month and put it aside to a reserve fund, put it aside towards maintenance expenses. In fact, you might even consider those first couple years taking a little bit more each month to put towards a bigger reserve, because that reserve can grow over time and create this nice egg of money that you might use to replace a roof or an appliance, or kind of those big capital expenditures that you might want to use on your investment property. Some other expenses that you really got to consider is a insurance policy. You can't just use your traditional homeowner's insurance policy. You have to get a specific landlord insurance policy when you own rental property. You also might consider your management fees. Now, if you're self-managing, what's that management fee mean? If you're using a property management company, that's pretty obvious, right? You're paying a percentage for someone else to manage the property. But when we look at doing our expenses, I always recommend, if you are self-managing, still pay yourself that management fee, because that goes into your big picture of your cash flow. You can separate that income, take a little bit extra, and then you can kind of see the profitability of a property if you are using a property manager, and then pay yourself that management fee. It's a great way to set yourself up with the true income and expenses and the financial reality of having a rental property. Now let's think about that legal side of it. This is the most important part of really comprehending when you own a rental property and you're a housing provider in our country. And as a landlord, it is your responsibility to really understand the landlord-tenant laws that make in the area where you have a rental property. So there's going to be city laws, state laws, county laws, and federal laws that you really need to understand and pay attention to. This has to do with evictions, security deposits, application fees even, and this can all, legal lease terms, that's another one. Anytime you mismanage any of those items of rental management, it can be your responsibility as a landlord. So not to intimidate you, it's definitely something millions of people do in our country as landlords, but you really got to understand your responsibility and pay attention to when laws change. So it's great to join a landlord association or use a software that helps you be legally compliant. There's lots of tools, even in Rentec Direct, that we have created and developed to help our clients be compliant with rules like application fees and making sure, and how rent can be collected. Those are just a couple of examples. How security deposits are managed. These are all things that we like to think about, of how software can help a landlord be compliant with all of these important laws that tell someone how to help their tenants and maintain a great property. Now, the other part of it I kind of mentioned was that emotional side of being a landlord, and I joked about the emotionless because I think it's important to take emotion out of it. buying a house and having it as a rental property, that's a huge expense and it's an asset in your portfolio. So naturally, there's going to be some emotional attachment when you're spending this much money. But I think it's important to take that emotion out of it and recognize that this asset is a business and you need to take emotions out of it to make strategic, smart business decisions. You're kind of taking the emotion out of approving a tenant. You can't, pick someone because you like them the most. You got to follow your landlord tenant laws about picking someone who is qualified. You can't get frustrated that someone isn't maintaining the property the way that you would because you're the homeowner versus a tenant. You can't get frustrated with them and give them notices if they're not breaking any lease terms, because maybe they're not, keeping the front yard cut the way that you would, but if it's not in the lease, then maybe they're not breaking a lease term and you can't really bother them. So we've written articles on the Rentec Direct blog of, is this landlord harassment or just a kind of picky landlord thing? So I'll make sure to link that on the bottom. It's kind of a fun article. But these are all different things you'd like to think about. So when you're getting started as a landlord, it's really, really exciting, but let's consider the financial aspects, the legal aspects, and the emotional aspects that come with owning and managing rental property. My name is Kaycee Miller. I work for Rentec Direct Property Management Software. Like I said, I'm a landlord, I'm a property manager, and I love sharing these tips about how we can help you be successful in rental management. Make sure to check out the Rentec Direct blog where we've written about all sorts of topics over the past 15 years. We've literally covered everything, and if there's something we're missing, please let me know. I can talk about it on video. I can write an article about it. We love, love, love covering these topics, and things change all the time. So please keep us posted, and I'll keep you posted with more tips about what it's like getting started as a landlord.